students. So welcome to the another lecture on the HVDC power transmission technology module. Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so in the last class we have discussed about the basic concept of HVDC and the block diagram, okay, of a HVDC transmission system, and also we have discussed about few the major advantages of HVDC over HVAC. Okay, so now we will be discussing the overall, you can say, one second. Okay. Okay, so basically we are discussing the overall advantages of the HVDC transmission. Okay, now depending upon the previous points which we have discussed regarding the HVDC advantage of HVDC over HVAC, so we can conclude that in HVDC, a lesser number of conductors and insulators are required, thereby reducing the overall cost of the system. That means not only the conductor means we are discarding one conductor, that not only means that we are we are reducing the conductor, because you can say the material cost, because we are not using one conductor, but also you can understand if one conductor is not used, that means in place of 3 we are using 2 conductors. That means the transmission tower will also be redesigned and we will use less amount of steel. Okay, then we will require less amount of insulator, then not only for the current transmission line but less amount of insulators for the, you can say, for the other equipments also, okay, in the station, that is in the electrical substation. So that means using less number of conductors reduces the conductor price as well as the insulation cost also. So it requires less phase to phase and ground to ground clearance, because in 3 phase in HVAC transmission we know that when in HVAC when 3 phase transmission line is there, so you have studied in your 3rd year in power system that there is a requirement of ground clearance. Okay, so there is a requirement of ground clearance. That means the transmission line should be some meters above the ground. Okay, because this is required. So can anyone tell why this is ground clearance is important in transmission line? Why ground clearance is important? Okay, is it known to you, the concept of ground clearance?
Sir, it produces magnetic field which is harmful.
Magnetic field which is harmful, yes, it may be one reason, maybe one of the reasons, but basically the major reason is that, see, if a transmission line is carrying say 400 kV and the ground is having zero potential, so now the air between the transmission line and the ground, this air is dielectric, so we know that there is some leakage capacitance. So there is some capacitance between the transmission line and the ground, and there is amount of leakage current flowing. Okay, so we generally calculate, whenever we do the calculation for the performance of the transmission line, we consider those capacitance. Okay, now if the ground clearance is less, that means the distance from the transmission line, that is a conductor, from the ground is less, so you understand the capacitance will be more, because we know that the equation for capacitance is C is equals to epsilon A by D. Now the transmission line and the ground, okay, if the distance is considered to be D, then if the D is less, then the capacitance will be more, and if the capacitance is more, the leakage capacitance current will be more. Okay, so not only the leakage so it will reduce the, or it will reduce the actual current, and also if the ground clearance is not sufficient, then the electric stress, the dielectric strength of the air is limited. Okay, so there the electric stress, or you can say the potential gradient, will increase. Okay, so there may result in a dielectric breakdown. A flashover may take place. So there is some prescribed ground clearance required. Okay. Now in three phase we have three conductors, so not only ground clearance is required, but also the clearance between one conductor to another conductor is also required, because the line voltage is suppose 440 kV. So obviously the line voltage between the two conductors is also 440 kV. So there in between that there is air, air medium. So there also the electric stress will increase if the clearance between one phase to another phase is not sufficient. Okay. Now in DC what happens, we are using only two conductors. Okay, now in DC there is no capacitance effect. Okay, there is not significant capacitance effect, and also since you are using two conductors, so clearance, the importance of the, or the problem of clearance also reduces. Okay, now the HVDC towers are less costly and cheaper. Why? Because we are using less amount of steel or material, because we are using only two conductors. Okay, lesser corona loss is less. That means I think it should be reframed. Okay, that means corona loss is less because in HVDC we don't have this corona effect. Okay, it is there, but very small compared to, very small compared to the HVAC transmission. Power loss is reduced due to, because DC has having few number of lines. Okay, so this is already known to you. The power loss is reduced not only because we are using one conductor less, so 33% reduced. Okay, and also the voltage drop is also reduced because the inductive reactance is not there. Okay, so HVDC system uses earth return. So if any fault occurs in one pole, okay, the other pole with earth returns behaves like an independent circuit. So this results in more flexible system. So often it can be used as a single conductor, where earth can be used as a return path. Okay, in many cases. So HVDC has a synchronous connection, between two AC substations connected through a HVDC link. So that is, the transmission of power is independent of sending frequencies sending frequency to receiving end frequency. That means the transmission which is performed, okay, the transmission. So whenever you are connecting one link with another link, okay, that means one grid to another grid, HVDC grid or HVDC connection, interconnection between two transmission lines, okay, the power exchange. So in that case, if the voltages are matching, then we can easily connect them, because we don't have to go for, you know, a phase sequence, and we don't have to compare the frequencies, because in AC, whenever we want to connect two power lines, okay, the voltage should be equal. That is first criteria. Second criteria is that we have to check whether the phases are equal or not, but that means the phase sequence should be equal or not. That means the red phase should be connected to red phase, Y with Y and B with B. Okay, and also before synchronizing we have to check the frequency also. But in HVDC there is no synchronous concept, because there is no frequency and there is no phase. Okay, so there is only one positive and one negative, so it can be easily connected if the voltages are equal. Hence it interconnects two substations with different frequencies. That means if you are having, suppose you want to exchange the power with one country to another country, suppose one country is using 50 Hz and another country is using 60 Hz. So in HVAC it is quite difficult, it is not possible without conversion. That is why HVDC has this flexibility. It can easily connect the power, that means the powers, okay, that means two substations basically with different frequencies can also be connected very easily, because you are already rectifying the AC to DC, and when we are connecting the DC with DC, so that we can easily connect them. And after, if you are taking power from two different substations and then we are connecting them, and then we are drawing a single power line HVDC, then we can easily we can invert that, convert into AC with a required frequency, and we can continue the transmission. Okay. So due to the absence of frequency in the HVDC line, losses like skin effect and proximity effect does not occur in the system. So skin effect is not also there, okay, and proximity effect is also not there. So I hope all of you know the proximity effect. Okay, so basically whenever you're having two AC conductors, okay, HVACs, that is AC transmission, the two phases, that means each phase create an inductance because they create flux. Okay, so flux results in self inductance as well as mutual inductance. So when the fluxes are linking with the other conductor, then it creates a mutual inductance in the other conductor. Okay, so it increases the reactance in the other conductor, so the current reduces. That means the flux of phase A interacts with flux of phase B due to the mutual inductance, and the reactance of the flux of reactance of conductor B increases, so the current reduces. There is a disadvantage in AC transmission, but in DC transmission this concept is not there because the flux linkages, the mutual inductance is not seen. That is, a proximity effect does not occur in the system. Okay, so it does not generate or absorb any reactive power, so there is no need to reactive power consumption. That means we have already discussed this, that in the HVDC transmission, intermediate substations is very required in very less amount, because there is no concept of voltage drop due to reactive power consumption. So we don't need to use any, you can say, reactive power compensating device. Okay, but the converter station requires the reactive power, so there is reactive power compensation system in the converter station, but for transmission it is not required. So once when the AC, that means the HVDC transformer, okay, is means there it is stepping up the voltage, and then it is rectified to DC, and then the transmission starts till the next, that means at the receiving end, when the DC needs to be again converted into AC, over there we will have reactive power compensation device. But in between transmission, HVDC transmission, there is no requirement of this reactive power compensation devices. But in AC we have to use reactive power compensation devices in between transmission also. So they are very accurate and less power flows through DC link. So this is a conclusion, that the accuracy, or you can say efficiency, is more, and the losses are also very less, because obviously it results in the increase in the efficiency, and also the stability also increases for the system. So conclusion is that HVDC transmission has many more advantages over HVAC, such as stability, controllability, etc. For distances longer than break-even distance, that break-even distance we have already discussed in the last class. So above that break-even distance, HVDC becomes more cost effective. That means it becomes more economical. Okay. Submarine HVDC links can be more suitable for connecting offshore wind farms, as they prove to be more efficient and cost effective than undersea HVAC cables, because undersea or submarine HVDC links, that means submarine power transmission, okay, over there the distances are very long, okay, so more than few hundreds of kilometers. So in that case, the HVAC AC transmission will be quite expensive, okay, because as per the graph we have seen, that above the break-even point, okay, or break-even distance, the HVAC becomes very much expensive compared to HVDC. So that is why HVDC is much more cheaper. So HVDC links are preferred for undersea transmissions. Hence, there is an increasing interest in the HVDC transmission. Still, HVAC will remain much longer, as it has its own advantages in transmission and distribution, such as it can be easily stepped up and stepped down. So obviously HVAC will be used, because first and for most importantly, HVDC is only used above the break-even distance, because above the break-even distance then only HVDCs are used, but below the break-even distance HVACs are cheaper. AC is better or cheaper. So obviously AC will be used because it can be stepped up and stepped down. We can convert single phase to three phase to single phase. Okay, and then the distribution can obviously take place using AC. Okay, because the distribution between one substation to another substation, the distance is very less, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, or even less than that. So obviously distribution will always take place with the help of AC, and even transmission for 50 kilometer, 100 kilometer is for those distances HVACs are preferred. So HVDC is actually a complement for the AC systems rather than a rivalry. Why complement? Because this actually it is a helping hand, because ultimately for HVDC the power is generated through AC, number one. Number two, the power has to be stepped up, and above that voltage then only HVDC becomes cheaper. So transformer is required. Okay, so basically for HVDC transmission we have to use AC, otherwise generate, you can say, HVDC power at say at a voltage of 700 or 800 kV. No, it has to, the generator can generate voltages of 11 to 15 kV, the maximum 21 kV. Then it has to be stepped up at that high voltage with using AC transformer, because transformers work on AC only. So using transformer we will step up, then we can rectify it and convert to DC. So obviously for HVDC also we require AC power. Okay. Now applications of HVDC transmission. Now we will discuss about the details of the application of HVDC transmission. Okay. So the detailed comparison of the AC and DC transmission in terms of economic and technical performance leads to the following areas of applications for DC transmission. So where it is used, obviously in long distance bulk power transmission, because since we all know that it is required for long distance only, because it is already mentioned that above the break-even distance HVDC is used. Okay. Now bulk power. Why bulk power? Because since the power loss is 33% less in HVDC, so obviously we will try to transmit as much as power possible. If the losses are 33% reduced, then we will try to implement this particular path for bulk power transmission. That is why it is only used for bulk power transmission. Underground or underwater cables, because here also the distance is very much high, and here also we require bulk power. Okay. Number 3 is asynchronous connection of AC systems operating at different frequencies, or where independent control of systems is desired. That means areas where different frequencies operate and where all the machines are not running at synchronism. Okay, suppose there is a very much unbalance in frequencies, but we have to connect the generators to grid. So for that purpose, the alternators which are there, okay, the voltage will be rectified, and then the DC power will be connected to grid. So for those purposes the DC is quite reliable. Okay, because we don't have to go for synchronism or matching the frequency. That is the advantage. The fourth point is control and stabilization of power flows in AC ties in an integrated power system. So you can say these advantages only conclude to the fourth point, that the HVDC can be controlled very easily and it is quite stable. Okay, so in the tie lines or the grids, okay, so the power can be integrated all together, so it helps in a better integration of power. Okay, now the first two applications are dictated primarily by the economic advantages of DC, where the concept of break-even is very important. Okay, so the problem of evaluation of the economic benefits is further complicated by various alternatives that may be considered in solving the problems of AC transmission, such as phase shifters, static VAR systems, series capacitors, single pole switching, etc. So these problems are eliminated in HVDC. Okay, so that is why HVDC is becoming more economical for long distance or very long distance transmission, because this phase shifter, reactive power compensators, series capacitors, all, and then pole switching techniques, they become very expensive for ACs for bulk power transmission and for long distances. The technical superiority of DC transmission dictates its use for the asynchronous interconnection even when the transmission distances are negligible. So that means HVDC is generally used for very long distances, as we have discussed, and it is used for bulk power transmission. But in areas, in few cases where the distances of power transmission are small, but there are areas where asynchronism is often seen. Okay, that means interconnection of different alternators or synchronous machines which run at different frequencies. For those connections also HVDCs are used, or DC is used, DC transmission is used. So you can say for 132 kV also DC can be used, but only in those selective areas where the frequencies of different machineries or machines are not at same, or you can say the machines are not running at same frequencies. This is unbalanced in frequencies, but we have to connect them to grid. In those areas DC is also used as an alternative. Okay, actually there are many back-to-back DC links in existence where the rectification and inversion are carried out in the same converter station with no DC lines. So the advantage of such DC links lie in the reduction of the overall conversion cost and improving the reliability of the DC system. Okay. The alternative to DC lines, DC ties, may require strengthening existing AC network near the boundary of the two systems. This cost will be prohibited if the capacity of the tie required is moderate compared to the size of the systems interconnected. Okay. So these points are really generally the you can say some addition. Okay. So just for the addition information. Okay. But basically the concepts are these four. Okay, these four are the main applications. Okay, now I am moving to the types of DC links. So types of DC links will be very much important for your study. So types of HVDC transmission links. So what are the types? So for connection two networks or systems, various types of HVDC links are used. Okay. So the HVDC links are classified into three types. Number one is the monopolar link. That means whenever you are connecting the HVDCs, one HVDC transmission to another transmission, okay, one transmission system to another transmission system, if both are working at DC, then three types of means connections, links are used. Number one is the monopolar link. So monopolar link, what is monopolar? So it has single conductor of negative polarity and uses earth or the ground or sea for the return path of the current. Okay, so generally it has only one conductor. So you can see it is only using one conductor. So that means 66% of power loss is being reduced. So in three phase we are using three conductors, but in monopolar HVDC transmission we are using only single conductor. Okay, and because the other conductor is not used, because earth is used as a return path. Okay, and for submarine or underwater transmission, often the sea is also used as a return path. Okay, but not but also maintaining some precautions, and there are different techniques for that. Okay, sometimes the metallic return is also used. So that means not only the ground, that means the actual soil is not used, but in ground there are metallic return paths. Okay, just like in railways. Okay, in electric traction also the metallic strips are connected to the tracks, which are used as return path. Okay, in monopolar links two converters are placed at the end of each pole. So earthing of poles is done by earth electrodes placed about 15 to 55 km away from the respective terminal station. That means earthing is required because we are using the ground or earth as a return path. That is the positive polarity. That is why the earthing is very much required. Okay, but these links have several disadvantages also. Okay, one second. it has several disadvantages also, because it uses earth as a return path. So this using earth as a return path has advantages, that it is using less conductor and the power loss is reduced, but it has also many disadvantages. Okay, so monopolar links are not much in use nowadays because it has many disadvantages. Okay, because using earth as a return path for high voltages can be also be very much, you can say, very much risky. Okay, so this is the diagram for the monopolar link. So you can here see that this is the sending end. Okay, this is the bus bar of the sending end. That means the alternators are connected over here at the bus bar, and we have the transformer, the power transformer. Okay, then the power is stepped up. Okay. Then here also this is a monopolar link, so this is also a second, you can say, supply. So this is not the receiving end. Don't get confused that this one is receiving end. No, this is, both are DC. Okay, that means transmission is taking in the form of DC. So this is alternator 1. Okay, suppose G1, alternator 2. Suppose two alternators are connected like this, G2. Here we have another area. Okay, say 500 kilometers away. So this is G1 in another state, and this is G2. Okay, or we can say this is G3, G4. So power is generated at a certain voltage. Suppose this power is generated at, suppose, 11 kV. This is at 11 kV. Bus bar is 11 kV. This is generated at 15 kV, suppose. So bus bar is at 15 kV. So this transformer steps up 11 kV to, say, 700 or 800 kV. Okay, 800 kV. But generally this is single transformers are used. Okay, because 3-phase to single phase. Okay, so then it is rectified. So the power is rectified, and then we are getting the DC. Here also power is rectified, we are getting DC. So entirely this is DC, this rectified, and after rectification we are getting the DC power. So I am marking it with green. Okay, so this is DC power. So DC power is getting transmitted through the conductor. Okay, so this is the HVDC transmission. That means we are connecting two links. That means suppose this is one DC transmission, this is also one DC transmission, and we are connecting the two transmission systems with each other. So we are using this monopolar link. Okay, so it is connected like this, and this is negative, and the positive is the ground. Okay, so that is why it is called the monopolar, because it is using a single pole. Okay, a single, you can say, conductor. Okay. Now we have bipolar link also. In bipolar link, it uses two conductors. One is positive and the other one is negative to ground. Okay. The link has the converter station at each end. So the midpoints of the converter station are earth through electrodes, because earthing is also very much required. Okay, in HVDCs. The voltage of the earth electrode is just half the voltage of the conductor used for the transmission of HVDC. So that means the electrodes which are used for the earthing has half voltage. That means if the voltage of the HVDC transmission conductor is, suppose, 800 kV, then the earthing voltage should be 400 kV. It is always half. The most significant advantage of the bipolar link is that if any of their links stop operating, the link is converted to monopolar link because of the ground return system. So ground return system is always used as a backup. So in bipolar link also the ground return system is used. Okay, so it is used as a backup, because in bipolar we are using two conductors, positive and negative. But if any particular conductor fails or due to fault, one conductor has to be removed, then the power transmission will not be interrupted. Okay, we will transmit the power. Maybe the capacity of transmission will reduce, but the power transmission will remain, and we will use only one conductor as, say, negative, and the ground as the positive return by using the monopolar. So the switching will be done from bipolar to monopolar. Okay, half of the system continues supply the power. So generally the power transmission will become half, the capacity will become half. Such type of links are commonly used in HVDC systems. This is the concept of bipolar. Okay, so you can understand in this case this is showing that same thing concept. So in place of ground we are using a conductor, okay, and we are using earthing after each converting station. Okay, so earthing is required for after each converting station. So between two converting stations we have only one earthing. So this is one single bus. Okay, so single bus is there, and we can also connect single converting station also. It is just for your understanding that in multiple areas, if this is one area, this is another area, and this is one bus bar, or you can say the infinite bus of say area 1, this is the area 2. Okay, few hundred kilometers away, right side is area 2, and it is connected to the bus bar, infinite bus. Okay, the two transformers are there. That means the buses, the actually bus bars, the power has to be transformed. Okay, that means the power has to be stepped up. Okay, so power is stepped up. So the concept is same. It is very similar to the previous one. Here also, the only difference is that we are using one conductor over here, and in this case we are using two conductors. You may represent using one converting station also if required. Okay, so these are two conductor system. Now third one is the homopolar link. Okay, so it has two conductors of the same polarity using negative polarity and always operate with earth or metallic return. So metallic return is used over here, and the two conductors used is not of other polarity. That means it is not positive and negative, both are negative. In the homopolar link, poles are operated in parallel, which reduces the insulation cost. So poles are used operated in parallel. That means the transmission line, okay, the poles which are used, they are used in parallel in the sense that the, you can say in parallel, that we suppose if I may show you in this way. So one conductor is flowing like this, another conductor is flowing like this. Okay, so they are originating from the same cross arm. Okay, cross arm, and insulators are there. Okay, so they are connected to the same insulator. Okay, and in between there is some gap, and the gap is also maintained by some, you can say that means the gap is maintained by some insulating materials. Okay, some insulating materials are there to maintain the gap at regular intervals. Okay, but this insulating gap, but these insulators are quite cheaper compared to the actual insulator over here. Okay, that is why by using these parallel conductors, that means both are carrying different currents. Okay, they are not connected electrically. Okay, and if they are connected electrically, that may also happen, because if they are having, but you can say you have studied about the bundle conductors, isn't it? Have you studied about bundle conductors? Hello, in AC transmission, do you know the concept of bundle conductors? Hello, Deepak, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
do you know what is a bundle conductor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, bundle conductor means basically, okay, there are few concepts in AC transmission. In power system only you have studied. There is a concept of transposition. Okay, there is one concept, because the phase sequences has to be transposed at every interval, otherwise the phase voltage will not be equal. Okay, now there is concept of, you can say the other concept where due to skin effect, okay, we generally do not use solid conductors, we use stranded conductors. Okay, these are observed in AC. These are the concepts of AC transmission. And because you must know this, because these are the very important questions which are generally asked in vivas and interviews. And the concept of bundle conductors. Bundle conductor means, suppose you want to transmit a bulk amount of power through transmission line, but you have only one transmission line available with you. Okay, so what you will do, you will use multiple conductors. If you carefully see the transmission line, if you Google it and you can see the pictures of many transmission, you will see that each phases, okay, suppose phase Y, okay, the conductors are connected like this. That one conductor is there, another conductor is there, another conductor is there. So they are actually connected in this way. Okay, they are connections. They are connected in this way. Okay, and suppose there is R phase. Okay, so 3 conductors are used, 3 or more than 3. So this guarding is used because so that the conductors do not touch each other, otherwise there will be short circuit or some spark. So these are for the guarding, for guarding them. Okay, so for making them so it is used for giving the physical strength. Okay, but 3 conductors are used simultaneously. For green also, RYB, sorry, for yellow we are using 3 conductors similarly. Okay, 3 conductors are there connected with each other, 3 or more. So these are called bundle conductors. That means if one conductor is carrying current I, so if we are using 3 conductors in the same phase, in the red phase suppose, then the total current will be 3I. Okay, so that means if the voltages are V, VL, so previously if only one single conductor is used, then the line current will, power will be VL into I, apparent power. But if you are using bundle conductors, if you are using 3 conductors, then 3 times the power can be transmitted. Okay, so this reduces the insulation cost also, and it reduces the manufacturing of transmission line also, because if you want to transmit say 1000 or 1 gigawatt of power from one area to another area, so if you using 2 or 3 different lines of you can say transmission lines, that means one transmission system is traveling, will be used, and after 10 kilometers another transmission system is used, and towers are used, section of towers. So in place of that, if you are using one single transmission system, so one single row of towers are used for transmitting the power from one area to another. So if you are using multiple conductors, that means if you are using the burden or using the burden of conductors on the transmission tower, so there is no problem, just we have to increase the height of the tower and increase the strength of the tower, but that will also result in less investment compared to using multiple transmission lines. Okay, because one tower is carrying a huge amount of power if bundle conductors are used. Similarly for here also, the poles are operating in parallel, so multiple conductors can be used. Okay, so this also helps in increasing the power transmission, and also it reduces the total insulation cost. In case of any fault, any one of the conductors, the converter equipment can be reconnected so that the healthy conductor can supply power. So in any one of the conductors are having any fault, so you can say the converter equipment can be reconnected or reconnected in the form of monopolar. Here also the monopolar can be operated. Such a scheme is very complicated as it preferred to be bipolar, provided continuous ground return does not pose additional problems. Okay, so it is quite complicated, and generally bipolars are generally used with a additional ground support. Okay, so this is the diagram of the homopolar connection. So in homopolar you can see that between ground to ground we use the current flow. So what is the advantage of this? Advantage is that we can transmit 2 times the power compared to bipolar. Why 2 times? Because see, in bipolar link we have only used one single return, one single circuit. Suppose this is positive, this is negative. So current I can be transmitted, okay, between one link to another link. But in homopolar link, you can see these two are negative, so negative power is being transmitted, and then using the ground or metallic return path, we are transmitting 2I, so 2 times the current. That means this is I and this is 2I, so 2 times the current means obviously twice the power is transmitted, isn't it? So in homopolar link, 2 times the power can be transmitted. These are advantages, but it has many disadvantages also, because this grounding, power transmission takes place in grounding. So it is told that it is complicated and is preferred to a bipolar link provided continuous ground return does not pose additional problems. So this ground return does create some additional problems. That is why bipolar links are generally used. But if ground return path, this area, if much precautions are taken, then it can be used without any much problem. This homopolar link can be used. So only challenge is that the ground return, this area. Okay. Is it clear? If you have any question, you can ask. If you have any question regarding monopolar, bipolar and homopolar.
Sir, disadvantage of homopolars?
Disadvantage is that it is quite complicated, because the additional you can say the additional precautions or maintenance is required for this ground path, because if 2 times current is flowing through this ground path, so over here you have to use this means very much risk is also attached to it. Okay, so you have to keep these things in consideration. Okay, so we have to very much carefully monitor. Okay, so there are risk of fault also. Okay, so that is why it is told that this continuous ground return does not pose additional problem. So if it is not using additional problem, then it is okay. So this is the disadvantage. Otherwise it is better compared to bipolar, because it has double current carrying capacity and power transmitting capacity. Okay. Okay, now moving on to the next topic, that is that of the components of HVDC transmission system. So components of HVDC. So what are the different components of HVDC transmission? So we all know that in transmission we are using a alternator, that is AC generator, and it is a 3-phase. Okay, so then we have the transformer. Now transformer, it will step up the 3 phases, but then it will convert into single phase, because HVDC will carry only single phase. That means it is carrying positive and negative. So obviously 3 phases cannot be rectified, and if you rectify 3 phases separately, then you will get 3 different positive and negative series. That means one phase, for phase R we will get one positive negative, one DC. For Y phase we will get one DC, for B phase we will get one DC. If you want to transmit three times the power, okay, that can be done, but generally it is stepped up and then one phase is used, then it is rectified. So after rectification at the substation, sending a substation, the power transmission takes place, and after the transmission again the power is inverted, and after inversion, because see the power is transmitted at a bulk amount, a bulk quantity, okay, huge quantity. Okay, so that huge quantity power is transmitted, and then when at the receiving end using the inverter we are again converting from DC to AC, then that it becomes single phase. That single phase, using phase shifters and all these things in the inverter properties, we create a 50 Hz frequency 3-phase line. Okay, and then we step down to the using a transformer, because after the transmission distribution will be carried on, or secondary transmission will be carried on. That is why the power is then stepped down, the voltage is stepped down. Okay, so this is a typical, you can say, block diagram, okay, or you can say circuit diagram in a simpler way. Okay, so in this in this particular system, the AC produced by the generating stations is stepped up and converted to DC with the help of rectifier unit. Then this DC is transmitted by the HVDC transmission line. At the receiving end, the inverter unit converts the received DC back to AC. Now this DC is stepped down and distributed. Okay, the converter at the sending end converts AC power into DC power, while the converter at the receiving end converts DC power to AC power. Thus, the first converter acts like a rectifier unit, whereas the other one is as a inverter unit. Okay, so this is the basic concept of HVDC transmission. Now the main components. What are the main components of the HVDC system? The main components are, number one is the converter. Okay. Then we have the DC line inductors. Okay. Sorry, it will be conductors. It will be DC line conductors. Okay. Then we will use the harmonic filters. So harmonic filters are also used. Then we use the converter transformers, then reactive power source, then ground electrodes, because we have seen that in bipolar and homopolar especially, the grounding is very important. The electrodes of the grounding is important because the ground is used for return path. Okay. And we have the microwave communication line between the converter stations. So between the converter stations, when interaction is required, okay, so they need to interact with each other. So they interact using the microwave communication system. So first of all is the converter. So there is a detailed study that we will be discussing later on, okay, in the later lectures, that the converter, what are the different converters used, that also need to be discussed. Okay, so previously, as we have little bit, I have told you that in the last class, that previously mercury valves were used. Okay. Then after the 1960s, thyristors, that is SCRs, have been introduced. Okay, so generally the thyristors are connected in series to form a thyristor valve. Okay, that means you can say you have studied about 6-phase. That means 3-phase. That means 6-pulse converter. Okay, then 12-pulse converter. So those setups are used, and each converter normally consists of 6 or 12 thyristor valves. That is for 6-pulse or 12-pulse. So the thyristor valves are usually equipped in pairs or groups of 4 and can stand on insulators on the floor of, or hang from the insulators from the ceiling. That means the converters are generally generally the setup is done, and the thyristor valves, they should be connected to the insulators. Okay, because obviously we are rectifying the high voltage AC to high voltage DC. So insulation is very much important concept. Okay, a very much important criteria. So this particular insulators has to be kept at a proper place. Okay, so either the converters are connected to the insulators on the floor, or the converters are also hanging from the insulator. Okay, it is also hanging from the insulators from the ceiling. So insulators are connected, and the converters, that is the thyristors, are hanging, or the insulators are connected to the ground, and the thyristors are connected on the insulators above the ground. Okay, now line commutated converters require voltage from the AC network for communications, but since the late 1990s, voltage source converters, that is the VSCs, have been started to use for HVDC. Okay, so these VSCs use insulated gap bipolar transistors instead of thyristors. So these VSCs have been introduced over the thyristors, and this can provide power to de-energized AC systems also. So these topics, VSCs and all these things, a little bit had been discussed in power electronics, but in this particular subject also, when we will be discussing about the FACS devices, that is the flexible AC transmission system, then we will be discussing in details. So almost all converters used for the HVDC are intrinsically able to operate with power conversion in either direction. So that means these converters can be used for the, you can say, power transmission for both the directions also, because the power conversion from AC to DC and DC to AC also. Okay, so that means this converting concept can be used for both the rectification as well as the inversion. Then we have the harmonic filters. Now all of you know what are harmonics, so I will not waste much time on harmonics, because harmonics generally comes in the order of, say, third harmonic, fifth harmonic. That means along with the fundamental frequency, some other frequencies also come, because of this appears generally for the switching, because whenever we are rectifying anything or again inverting anything, that means from AC to DC or DC to AC, whenever this conversion is done, it results in a lot of harmonics. That means additional frequencies do come in the system, generate in the system. So if you are using a fundamental frequency of 50 Hz, then additional frequencies such as 150 Hz, okay, you can say third harmonics, 150 Hz or fifth harmonic, okay. So these frequencies also, you can say, they are introduced. So this reduces the power quality. So this harmonics has to be filtered out, otherwise the transmission will result in lot of, you can say, problems. Okay, there will be a lot of losses, there will be a lot of flashovers. Okay, so it may produce undesirable noise in the neighboring communication systems. So thus, to remove this harmonic currents, harmonic filters are used. So these filters bypasses the harmonic currents to the ground by providing a low impedance path. So all of you know we use generally capacitors, because the harmonics are generally which are created are of higher order compared to the fundamental frequency. Okay, if I show you the basics, because in basic electrical and in the earlier semesters you already studied about the harmonics. So this is suppose the fundamental frequency 50 Hz, then one harmonic will be like this, third order, suppose third order, this is third order, that means 3 times. So that means if the green one is 50, then the red, suppose green one is F and the third order will be 3F, then we have fifth order. So if we use a capacitor like this with respect to ground, if you use a capacitor with respect to ground, okay, then what happens when the power transmits in this direction? So suppose 50 Hz F frequency is there, and along with that there are 3F frequencies. So this power is transmitting from one end to another end, and the frequencies are also transmitting simultaneously. That means from the same conductor different frequencies are traveling. So it is carrying, say, third order or fifth order frequency. So we use a capacitor of such a setting in the filter that we know the capacitance have capacitive reactance of 1 by C omega. That means 1 by C into 2 pi F. Okay, so if the frequency is less, then the reactance will be more. Okay, and if the frequency is more, the reactance will be less. So the capacitors are placed in such a way that if F frequency is flowing, it is considered as a low frequency. Then what will happen? This frequency, the power which is flowing, for that Xc is very high compared to this reactance or impedance Z of the transmission line. For that the Xc is high. Okay, so obviously current will not travel to the path which is having higher impedance or higher ohmic value. So it will take the normal path of the transmission. Now when harmonics are there, suppose this third order harmonics, okay, So for that the frequency is higher frequency. Okay, so higher frequency will result in low reactance. So for that this Xc becomes low. So for that case it is observed that Z is more than Xc for higher frequency. So that's 3f for this one. So Xc is less, so it will try to travel to the lower frequency, a lower impedance. So it will be grounded, it will be bypassed. So if third order harmonics is bypassed, so obviously the fifth order for that frequency is very high. So obviously the impedance, line impedance will be very greater than the reactance of the fifth order harmonics, because if frequency is very high, then the reactance will be very less. So this will be, the capacitor will be observed as a having less reactance. So it will try to pass through the capacitor instead. It will pass through the capacitor and it will avoid the transmission line. So only fundamental frequency f is traveling through the transmission line. Only f is traveling through the transmission line. Okay. So these are the applications of harmonic filter. So this is generally not a single capacitor. So many different setups are there. It is just a simple example. Okay. So this filter bypasses the harmonics to the ground by providing a low impedance path. The filters for each phase are connected in star and the neutral point is grounded. The filters are connected in star position. Okay. Because obviously this is before the rectification. Okay. So these inductors are connected in series with the lines, because if before rectification, if harmonics are there, then the rectification becomes very much problematic. That is why we have to isolate this fundamental frequency from the harmonics. The harmonic frequency should be bypassed. So the inductors connected in series with the line are used to smooth the DC output of the conductor. Okay. With the use of these inductors, the DC line current is prevented from increasing rapidly under the faulty conditions, because this is generally harmonic setup. Okay, sorry, the filter setup, harmonic filters which you have studied in those areas. These are not being introduced once again, because it is considered that you have already gone through these harmonic filters in the power electronics syllabus. Okay. Then we have the converter transformer. What a converter transformer? Converter transformer, you will ask that it is a simple transformer, because transformer only works in AC. It will never work on DC, because in AC only we have the changing flux, because EMF will only be produced when there is a rate of change of flux. Okay, so obviously transformer will work only for AC, but in converter transformer, it is told that it is used to provide AC voltage required for the converter. A delta type 3-phase transformer may be used for this purpose. Okay, and a third winding, which is called the tertiary winding, may be added sometimes for the direct connection to the source of the rectifier power. So that is a different issue. Generally transformers do have two windings, primary and secondary, but in many substations, okay, AC substation, tertiary winding is also used, because if you want to step down, suppose 220 kV to 660 kV or 33 kV, then primary and secondary, primary will be 220 kV, secondary will be 33 kV. But if you want to use the power for your offices, then it is also step down to 400 kV, 400 volt, okay, using the tertiary winding. That is a separate issue. Now the converter rectifier, on the rectifier side, is provided with tappings to maintain the input AC voltage. A motorized tap changer automatically switches the taps. The taps are also provided for the converter transformer on the inverter side. So these tappings are used because there is a requirement of changing the 3-phase to single phase. Okay, so that is why these tappings are introduced. Okay, because obviously, as I've told you, the 3-phase should be after the transformer is transmitting. Transformer is transforming the voltage from high to low and low to high. Then this changing of the this particular phases, that means three phase to single phase also required. That is why these tappings are used. Then we have used the rectifier power source. Now the variable static capacitors, generally capacitor banks, we all know these are the rectifier source because capacitors generate reactive power. Okay, so reactive power source. Okay, so they generate reactive power. And inductive or inductor machines, that is generally machines, motors, they have a lot of inductors. So the inductors consume reactive power. Okay, so these variable static capacitors or synchronous these capacitors, okay, or synchronous condensers are used for absorbing the reactive power of the converters. So the converters generally have to the statement should be, I will be correcting it. Used for supplying rather. So reactive powers are supplied by this particular produced or providing the used for providing the reactive power. You should be rather providing, because the converters consume reactive power for this task, because if you want to rectify the AC to DC, then again invert DC to AC, then they consume reactive power. So that is why these capacitors are used. Okay, capacitors, synchronous alternators, synchronous capacitors, they use because they produce or generate sufficient reactive power which is consumed by this converter. The requirement of the reactive power increases with the firing angle of the rectifier and extinction angle of the inverter. So during this firing angle, it means that we know that in thyristor firing, thyristor operation, firing angle is required. Okay, so for this case, whenever this firing is used or operation takes place, lot of reactive power requirement is there because they consume reactive power. If reactive power is not there in sufficient amount, then it will not be able to, you know, operate these machines, okay, or these converters. Okay, so these reactive powers are required. So this power requirement is about 50 to 60% of the real power transfer. You understand a huge amount of real power, reactive power is required, because the alternator generates power in apparent power, because alternator, the synchronous generator or alternator, they can produce both active power and reactive power. Okay, they can produce both active power and reactive power, but the transmission line, AC transmission line, consumes reactive powers, but in DC transmission line they do not consume reactive power. Okay, but the converter station do consume reactive power. So the alternator which is there, which is supplying the power, okay, suppose the alternator, the group of alternators are connected, suppose 10 alternators are connected to the grid or the bus bar. So voltage is, say, suppose 11 kV, okay, and the apparent power, and the suppose the apparent power is, say, S, okay, and we know that S is equals to P plus JQ, okay, where P is the active power in megawatt and Q is the reactive power in var. Okay, okay, and this is in MVA, megavolt ampere. Now in the converting station they consume 50 to 60%. That means if the whole alternator setup is generating suppose 1000 MVA or gigavolt ampere, okay, and if 50%, that means 50% of the power is used by the reactive power, that means very less amount of power is remaining for the transmission, because actually the power transmitted will be in megawatt, actually power used will be megawatt, okay, the real power. So we have to reduce the amount of reactive power, but we cannot reduce that because the converter station will consume reactive power. That means we have to reduce the contribution of reactive power from the actual alternator. That means if the alternator is contributing 50 to 60% of the reactive power generated by it to the converter, then very less amount of active power will be remained for transmission. That is why these capacitor banks and the reactive power compensating devices are installed in the converting station, so that the reactive power required by these converters can be fulfilled by these reactive power compensating devices like capacitors, so that the burden of the reactive power is not on the alternator, so that alternator can supply maximum apparent power in the form of active power. Okay. Okay, so as the transmitter active power varies, the reactive power must also be varied. So there is actually varied means the sharing between from the actual alternator reactive power and the, you can say, the capacitor reactive power. So that is the capacitor reactive power has to be installed in abundant quantity, so that the converter station consumes reactive power from those capacitors and do not trouble the reactive power of the alternator. Okay. Otherwise, the main power transmission will be reduced. Did you understand this part? Reactive power source. Have you understood why these capacitors are used for reactive power source? Okay, if you have any problem, you can raise. Okay, have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Then we have the, I'm just having two more slides. Okay, then we have the ground electrode. Now ground electrode we have seen for monopolar, basically for the homopolar and the bipolar, grounding is required. So these electrodes are required. Okay, so these DC currents in the ground have a corrosive effect of cables, metallic structures and cables, and it causes interference in the converter transformer. The actual ground electrode is placed far from the converter station to avoid this problem. So the grounding electrodes which are used for ground, okay, so they are not connected, or they are not ground, or the electrodes are not grounded. That means you have to dug this soil, and you have to put the electrodes under the soil. Okay, so that is why this is called the placing of the electrodes. So these electrodes are not placed near the converter station because there is a lot of interference. Okay, so at the grounding side, the special methods are adopted to minimize the electrode resistance. So electrode resistance is also need to be minimized so that maximum current can flow, because earth has very less resistance. Okay, but if there is a lot of impurities in the soil, and there are say rocks and all these things are there, rubbishes are there, then the earth resistance will increase. So the electrode resistance will also increase. So that will result in lesser amount of current flow. So we have to choose or select those areas where the resistance of the earth resistance is less. In those areas only the electrodes are being placed. Okay, then we have the communication link. So communication link is necessary between the converters at both ends of the line for controlling purposes. Because communication link, because one substation and another substation has to be connected, because in AC transmission, do you know how this communication is done? Because nowadays we do have mobile phones and all these things, but if you want to use conventional method of communication between one substation to another substation, before there were mobile phones, how the communication used to happen in AC substation, do you know? In AC substation, suppose substation is having 220 kV, 266 kV, 233 kV. Okay, transmission substation. So do you know if one substation to another substation how the communication is done? Nowadays also it is done, and you will see the devices which are responsible for those communications are still you will see in the substations. In the substation it is present. But right after when the transmission line is entering the substation, we have lightning arresters. Then that particular equipment is installed. Then we allow the power to enter the substation. That means the transformer. So do you know what is that equipment which is used for communication purposes in the AC substation? Anyone? Okay, have you heard about the word wave trap? Have you seen wave trap?
No, sir.
You have not seen wave trap. One second. Okay, if I Google you the picture, it will be easier for you. These are wave traps. This one. Okay. So in a substation, whenever you will enter a substation, okay, you will see these equipments are there. Just before, after the lightning arresters, you will see these wave traps are there. Okay. So what are wave traps? Wave traps are actually used for, they are actually filters. Okay. So in a transmission line, AC transmission line, we know fundamental frequencies are traveling 50 Hertz. Other than that, megahertz communication frequencies are also used or traveled or transmitted. That means the conductor is also used as a carrier of communication signal also. But that huge amount of frequency cannot be allowed to enter the substation, otherwise the equipments will get damaged, because obviously if say kilohertz frequency or megahertz frequency, if it enters an alternator, you can understand the reactance value will be very, very high. So it cannot be allowed. So it has to be isolated. So using the wave trap, it is also a frequency, it is also filter. Okay, just like that harmonic filter. So it bypasses those frequencies of those communication signals and only allows the fundamental 50 Hz frequency to enter the substation. Okay. Here in that way, the high frequencies are bypassed and then it is connected to the offices for communication, for telephone. In HVDC also communications are used, but in a different way. They are used in form of a communication link. Okay. So this high speed communication link between the converters continuously transmit the controlling information. So here also the communication is done in a similar way, but with some different adjustments. Okay. In those cases, so the HVDC transmission cannot be used as a, you can say, carrier, because HVDC will not carry any frequency. So for that is why the radio signals are used over here. Okay. So wireless radio communications are used for this communication from one converter station to another converter station for the HVDC transmission. Okay. So it is up to here. So if you have any question, then you can ask me, we will discuss. So have you understood this part? Because this is basically the informative, little bit informative to you, because at the beginning you have to first know what is HVDC and what are the advantages, disadvantages and different types of HVDC links. Okay, and then we will be entering the more details. Once we enter the converters, what are the different converters, then you will see that many topics are also related to this power electronics also. Okay, so those who have not studied power electronics that thoroughly, you must revisit those areas of thyristor, 6-pulse, those 6-pulse converters, 12-pulse converter, rectification. You must revisit so that it becomes easier for you to understand. Okay. Okay, so I am just calling out the names. Kindly respond. So Akshay Prajapati.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anish Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Anjali.
Yes, sir.
Avinash,
Yes, sir.
Vijay,
Yes, sir.
Deepak.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Piyush,
Yes, sir.
Preeti Kumari,
Present, sir.
Pooja,
Yes, sir.
okay, Rahul Kumar, okay, Rishika Kumari,
Present, sir.
Ritesh Kumar,
Present, sir.
okay, Swambar Singh,
Yes, sir.
Swati.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you all for today.
Sir, Rahul Kumar, sir.
Okay, Rahul Kumar. Okay. Okay, so you may leave now. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.